Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, there is a great premier boxing champion fight coming up on Friday. Right? You need to be aware that it's a Friday fight, not a Saturday fight. You want to check your local listings to see when this fight is televised. It's between Erislandy Lara, right, one of the harder matchups in boxing, and Delvin Rodriguez. Now understand, the casinos have Lara as an overwhelming favorite. In fact, Rodriguez is something like a 16 or 17 to 1 underdog. Now, I personally believe Lara wins the fight, but I do believe that this is a bettable fight if you tap dance a little bit. Now, you know the concept of teasing a play, right? You know, let's say there's a point spread in an NFL game of 7. And you say, okay, you know what, if I combine some other bet with this bet, then we'll drop that 7-point line to 1 or 2, right? You're moving point spreads, right, depending on how you structure the bet. Well, let's introduce the concept of teasing into over-unders in boxing. Right? Understand the over-under right now. If you go to oddschecker.com and see how they have it laid out, you're going to notice that a legal site in the United Kingdom, right? And this is really for British bettors. If you're in the United States or some other jurisdiction, you're going to have to place bets in legal casinos, right? You're going to have to check the laws of the jurisdiction you're in. But if you're in the UK and you have access to the site bet365.com, you're going to notice that because Lara is such an overwhelming favorite, that they're giving you on the over 8.5 rounds. In other words, the midway point of the 9th round, they're giving you 5 to 4 odds. In other words, better than even money. Bet $40 to win $50 and get your $40 back. Right? Now, my point is simply this. Those are rich odds for an over-under. Very rich. Right? It's the over 8.5 rounds. But the midway point of the 9th round makes me a little bit queasy. Right? I'd rather get all of the 9th round as well as the 8th round. And my point to you, in other words, I believe this fight makes it into the 8th round, right? But at the same time, I want the upside exposure. Now, my point to you is, and you'll see this on oddschecker.com, depending on the casino you're in, you can actually buy rounds. In a sense, you can tease the play. In other words, if I take the over 8.5 rounds, then that means if the fight makes it to the halfway point of the 9th round, I'm good. Right? After that, I have everything covered. If it makes it into the 10th round, that's fine. The 11th round, that's fine. 12th round, that's fine. Goes the distance, that's fine. What I want to do is to add a round and a half on the downside. So I can take the over 8.5 rounds. Then what I can do is buy Erislandy Lara in the 9th round at bet365.com if you're in England. And the casino will give me 16 to 1 odds. In other words, I'm picking up the first half of the 9th round. I could also buy Erislandy Lara in the 8th round at 12 to 1 odds. So this way, I have Lara after the conclusion of the 7th round. He wins in the 8th round, I'll have to live with the 12 to 1 payoff minus the cost of the 9th round bet and the over. Right? If Lara wins in the 9th round, if it's the first half of the round, I'll have to live with the 16-1 payoff, minus the amount spent on the 8th round and minus the over. If he wins in the second half of the 9th round, then I'm getting 16-1 plus the over. Then I'm in the penthouse. Then I'm the person in the restaurant laughing, knowing that the meal and the liquor are all on the house. Right? So the bet I'm recommending here, and understand we're getting provocative here a little bit. I believe this fight makes it into the 8th round. I believe the likely winner is Erislandy Lara. In other words, this is heavy gambling. So I'm recommending that you take Lara in the 8th round at 12-1 odds. That you take Lara in the 9th round at 16-1 odds. And that you take the over 8.5 rounds, right, at 5-4 odds. In other words, each of these bets is better than even money. Right? It gives you Erislandy Lara, right, starting in the beginning of the 8th round on. And it gives you Delvin Rodriguez starting at the 1 minute and 31 second mark of the 9th round. Right? My basic premise is this fight's going to go a few rounds. Let's talk about why. Lara is the big favorite. Big favorite. But understand, Lara's last 3 fights have all gone the distance. Right? All of them. We're talking about Ishii Smith, Saul Alvarez, and Austin Trout. Right? Understand, Lara was dominant in the Ishii Smith fight and the Austin Trout fight. He even knocks Trout down in the 11th round. The point, though, is when Lara is in the ring with an elite fighter, he doesn't get early KOs. Let's back up to 4 fights ago. He's fighting Alfredo Angulo. Now, I know technically that was a TKO in the 10th round. That's fine, right? The 10th round pays you, according to what I'm suggesting here. Right? But understand, that really wasn't Lara knocking down Alfredo. That was Lara breaking Alfredo's orbital bone in his eye. And Alfredo Angulo retiring due to injury. Let's go back a few more fights. Vanis Martirosyan, right? Understand that fight ended up being a draw in the 9th round because of, a head clash. Right? The fight before that, Freddy Hernandez, that fight goes the distance. That fight goes 10 rounds. You have to go all the way back to Erislandy Lara against Ronald Hearns to find his last knockout, where he hits the guy and the other guy goes down, and the fight is called after the other guy hits the canvas. But understand, Ronald Hearns wasn't his father. Right? Ronald Hearns was vulnerable to early KOs. In my opinion, Ronald Hearns is not in Delvin Rodriguez's class. Let's talk about Delvin Rodriguez. Now, I understand that Delvin got KO'd by Miguel Cotto. I understand that Cotto is left-handed. I understand that Erislandy Lara is left-handed. But understand, Cotto's power is sudden. It's more sudden than Lara's. If you look at their records, Cotto is much more of the KO puncher. Right? Cotto's last 2 fights stopped Sergio Martinez, right? I know Martinez quits on the stool, but understand, Martinez had been down in the fight. Right? And, of course, Daniel Gil, who got stopped. Right? That, also Cotto fights out of an orthodox stance. That left hook gets there faster than southpaw Erislandy Lara's left. Right? Well, just understand, Delvin Rodriguez is a hard man to KO. He's only been stopped twice in his career. You have to go back years. You have to go back to 2007 for the time when Delvin Rodriguez was KO'd prior to the Cotto KO. Understand, too, that he has a pattern of going several rounds. His last fight was a draw against Joachim Alcine that went 10 rounds, right? I understand he KO'd Freddie Hernandez in the 8th round, but understand that KO a little bit dodgy. Understand Freddie Hernandez came into the fight on a 2-fight losing streak. The fight before that was against a guy whose nickname is Comanche Boy. Comanche Boy had an inflated 31-0 record. He hadn't fought anybody in his career, anyone who was very highly regarded. Comanche Boy wasn't a world-class fighter. And even there, that fight traveled into the 6th round. Understand, when Delvin fights Austin Trout, that fight goes the distance. He fights Paul Wolak twice. Both of those fights go the distance. He fights Ashley Theophane. That fight goes the distance. In other words, when he steps up against world-class competition, typically, Delvin Rodriguez's fights go the distance. So even though this fight against Erislandy Lara has such a huge spread, right? Even though Lara is an overwhelming favorite, based on these men's histories, I'm expecting this fight to make it into the 8th round. Because of the rich odds they're offering, right? 12-1 on Lara to win in the 8th round. 16-1 on Lara to win in the 9th round, right? 5-4 on the fight making it past the halfway point of the 9th round, right? The play I'm recommending is the over, where you, in a sense, tease the play by buying Lara in the 9th round and buying Lara in the 8th round, right? You want Lara from the start of the 8th round on. You want Delvin Rodriguez from the midway point of the 9th round on. I think this wide odd fight goes a few rounds. Understand, Delvin Rodriguez, if he's not getting caught early when he's cold by an explosive fighter like Miguel Cotto, is a chess player who can go several rounds. Understand, the guy he just got a draw with, Alcine, his most recent fight, his most relevant fight. Alcine's a former champ who's a chess player, right? Rodriguez is a high-level chess player. He's going to be in the ring. I don't believe he gets blown out, even though the odds are this wide. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. And remember, this is a Friday fight, not a Saturday fight. Thanks for stopping by.